Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Huckman. I'm 17 and a senior at Kingswood Regional High School in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. I am here tonight with my parents, Jen and Tom, to tell you about how GLAD has helped me and my family. People often tell me that I'm brave for coming out as trans to my 7th grade class, for advocating to be treated just like all the other kids in my middle school and now my high school, and for testifying at the New Hampshire State House and lobbying legislators to finally pass a transgender non-discrimination law, which I am so excited to say they did this year. I'm not gonna lie, they're right, I am brave. Yeah. It was scary and stressful at first to stand up and tell my story, not knowing how people would react. My courage came from knowing that I wasn't alone. From the beginning, I've had the unconditional love of my parents and support from my brothers, thanks to places like Camp Aranutic and the Trans Youth Equality Foundation. I had places to go where I could just be myself and meet other trans kids. GLAD had my back when I needed an advocate to help my school leaders understand that I had legal rights to an equal education and to play on girls' sports teams. GLAD made my life and my journey easier and safer. That's why I'm an activist. I want the LGBTQ kids coming up behind me to have an even better experience. No more kids being rejected by their families, no battles over restrooms or what sports teams to play on. The idea that I could impact somebody else's life for the better gives me the strength and courage to speak up. I was very lucky that from day one, my parents supported me 100% in being my authentic self. From my earliest years, I was never into stereotypical boy stuff, like toy guns, soccer balls, and lightsabers, and they didn't force it on me. They didn't freak out when I pretended my bath towel was a cascade of long hair or when I went for the dresses during playtime at preschool. And I have to tell you, once I got those dresses on, they were not coming off. They let me dress up as Cinderella for my kindergarten Halloween party and join my elementary school cheer team. They sought information, resources, support groups, and found the right doctors for me. And they set a great example for my brothers. Not that they really needed it. I came out at school right after Thanksgiving break in 7th grade. I was so nervous that day, telling 80 classmates in chorus all at once. But it was such a relief. They gave me a standing ovation, and I was overwhelmed with their acceptance and support. It made me cry. School leaders weren't as accepting, though. They wouldn't let me use the girls' bathroom with the rest of the girls. Instead, they made me use a separate single-stalled bathroom all the way across the middle school. It was embarrassing to be singled out, like that there was something wrong with me. It felt awful. That's when my parents contacted GLAD Answers. GLAD told us that the law was that under Title IX, the federal law that bans sex discrimination in schools, I could not be prohibited from using the girls' restroom. They helped us advocate for a policy change. Months went by with no decision from the school board on a new policy. Finally, after talking with GLAD, my father called the superintendent and told her that I was going to start using the girls' restroom in accordance with federal law. That made a huge difference in my school experience and my life. I was treated like everyone else, and it didn't cause any problems. But that access only applied to me, because the school board never adopted a school-wide/district-wide policy. Every other trans student in my school district still has to fight the same battle. This was and still is unacceptable to me. But GLAD remained in my corner and helped me take on another discriminatory school policy. Running is a passion of mine, and I'm a competitive runner. In middle school, the superintendent had the power to decide which athletic team a trans student could compete on, and she allowed me to compete on the girls' track and cross-country teams. High schools are different because they have to follow the New Hampshire Interscholastics Athletics Association. They require gender reassignment surgery in order to compete on the girls' track and cross-country teams at Kingswood Regional High School. The problem is that doctors rarely recommended surgeries for trans youth under the age of 18. We tried explaining to the NHIAA before I started my freshman year, but nothing changed. So we called GLAD. GLAD helped us advocate for me to be treated fairly under the law. Right before I started my freshman year, we heard that the NHIAA had changed its rules in the way that would let me compete. Each school makes its own decisions about what teams a trans student plays on. Again, while my school then chose to let me compete on the girls' team, other trans students in other schools still could be sidelined if school officials aren't as accepting. This is not okay. Transgender youth should be free to live our lives without discrimination at school and in our communities. That is why I got involved in the movement to pass the transgender non-discrimination law. At 16, I was one of the youngest people to testify on the bill at the State House. I talked to the media and met with state legislators and community leaders. Sitting in the gallery when the House voted to table the first trans bill last year, I felt shocked. When it finally hit me the bill was dead, I indeed started to cry. Before long, though, I was ready to get back to work. Seeing and hearing from so many of the people who would be positively affected by the passage of this legislation lit a fire inside of me. This wasn't just about my future. I couldn't wait to go back to Concord to share my story again with whoever needed to hear it. One of my proudest moments was celebrating with my community, my friends, old and new, in front of the State House this June after the bill finally became law. I'm lucky enough to have loving parents, caring friends, a school community that wants me to succeed, and the expert lawyers from GLAD in my corner. I can focus on my schoolwork, applying to colleges, and running. Too many trans kids aren't so lucky, though. That's why New Hampshire's non-discrimination law is so important, and that's why I'll continue speaking out for trans rights as a member of the New Hampshire Legislative Youth Advisory Council, and in many other places. I also want all trans youth to know your existence is valuable. Don't sit behind a closed door. Get out there and be you. Do what you love to do. My favorite saying is by the poet E.E. Cummings. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. I say to you, keep growing. Thank you.